Yeah.
How's life different under SoftBank?
Well, in some ways, it's not very different at all. We're still very focused on executing on our roadmap, working with our partners, developing next generation technology that's being used in all sorts of devices, from smartphones to tiny microcontrollers in refrigerators and washing machines. So in a lot of ways, it's business as usual for us.
And as you said, in some ways, in a lot of ways, what about the other ways? What is different?
Well, no longer being a public company, but part of a conglomerate, part of a public company, we're now really able to think in a much longer term about investments that we make in new emerging trends for technology, how they're being used, and really spend a lot more time thinking about long-term strategy than we could before. So it's business as usual in terms of execution, but in parallel with that, we're thinking now, decades out in terms of how people will be using technology and what that will mean.
SoftBank has announced a big fund, the Vision Fund. It got a lot of attention from President Trump, President-elect Trump, in fact, took notice of it and maybe even took credit for it. But I wonder what that means for ARM if that fund's going to go after semiconductors. Does ARM end up working with other semiconductor firms or semiconductor investments? What's the relationship going to be?
Well, the way SoftBank has operated is, there are some operating companies, there are a whole number of investments that they have, and typically those investments have been things which have helped grow the business as a whole. So my expectation is that that money is going to be put to work in a fund that will return value for the investors in it, that will be in technologies around the kind of things that we do. You
guys over the last, call it 10 years, have really captured the tiger by the tail when it comes to smartphones and had great success as that business has really grown. What do you see happening in the smartphone business right now?
Well, from a volume perspective of handsets, the growth rates have tailed off, but there's still a lot of innovation going on within handsets. The compute performance is going up year after year. We're a few years away from having 5G technology, which is going to enable much higher data rates coming into your handset.
What's your expectation of timing there?
Probably around 2020, 2021. Before that's a kind of mainstream technology, although people are obviously starting trials much earlier than that. So that's going to, I think, ignite new use cases, new ways in which people are using phones, new applications, and is going to keep the whole industry innovating.
Yeah, and as you look at this business and as it grows, I mean, do you expect that we're going to see, Intel, for example, has made so much at least commentary and some business around Internet of Things. And I wonder if you see that as a necessary thing to really jumpstart the semiconductor cycle again, because we're seeing longer periods between the sales of PCs, declining tablet sales, longer periods of time between the refresh of smartphones. And I wonder if there is a new driver on the horizon from your perspective.
Certainly when I talk to our customers, when I talk to the CEOs of semiconductor companies that we work with, there are many who are looking at the growth in the semiconductor content in cars and the growth of IoT as big drivers for their business in the future. At any one moment in time, there are industries that are maturing, there are other things that are taking off. And right now, those two sectors particularly stand out as ones that are driving innovation and the potential for future revenue growth.
Looking beyond that, I mean, talk to me about the relationship with Apple, and what is it like to work with a company like that?
Well, with any big successful company, your licensees are very demanding on the technology, want you to keep executing, want us to keep investing in our roadmap, and we have many companies like that, many customers like that.
When you look at the sort of plans for Intel in terms of and I keep mentioning Intel maybe because I just focused on the company so much and have for so long, but when I look at their big plans for capital expenditures, when I look at the fabs they're building and going down to unimaginably thin wafer sizes and so on, do you see that as your biggest source of competition because they're able to drive those CapEx dollars into that business?
Well, Intel is a significant customer of ours, and we're actually working with them on deploying some of that advanced manufacturing technology.
Co-opetition, maybe.
So that other licensees of ARM processors can go manufacture in their process.
Right.
So we've been working with them for some time on that. The overall semiconductor industry is pushing forwards on these very advanced geometries. That's going to enable more performance, it's going to enable better energy efficiency, so we can all have more and more powerful devices with us.
And in terms of when we look at those drivers and things, what do you, the other company, of course, that looms so large in the semiconductor business, and it's amazing that you guys have grown to where you are already, but Qualcomm, such a big company, but it seems to me that although for so many years they've fought off antitrust concerns, they're facing these antitrust challenges across all kinds of geographies. Do you think that Qualcomm's been a fair player when it comes to the way that they've licensed their technology and worked with their customers?
Well, I don't think it's really for me to comment on whether they've done that fairly or not. I mean, what I have seen, having worked with them for a long time, is they've invested a lot in technology R&D, invested a lot to bring these advanced wireless technologies to the market. Up to them how they go monetize it, but you can't fault them for the amount of R&D spending that they've done over the years.